All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at something so many of us do but rarely understand on a biological level. We're going to decode the biology of our nighttime audio habits. If you've ever fallen asleep with your headphones on, or maybe with a speaker playing softly on your nightstand, you are going to want to pay very close attention to the science we're about to unpack.
So here is a huge question for you. Is your sleep playlist actually keeping you awake? It's a fascinating biological paradox. You hit play on that perfectly curated, ultra-relaxing acoustic playlist because you want your conscious mind to shut off. But by feeding it sound, you are literally giving your nervous system more data to process while it's actively trying to rest. Today, we're going to look at the hard science of what your brain is actually doing when the lights go out, but the music stays on.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll explore the sleep music paradox. Then, the biological benefits of sound. After that, we'll cover the real risk of sleep disruption. Next, we'll examine a deeply human aspect of this, music, sleep, and disability. And finally, we will arrive at our final verdict.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the sleep music paradox, or as I like to call it, the night shift worker in your head.
You know, when you go to sleep, you probably think your whole body just powers down, right? Like a laptop closing its lid. But biologically speaking, your auditory system stays completely active. Your ears literally do not have eyelids. Even when your eyes are firmly closed and your conscious mind is drifting off into dreamland, your brain is right there, continuously processing the melody, the beat, and the lyrics. Your brain remains actively engaged, translating those sound waves into neural signals all night long.
Moving right along to Section 2, the biological benefits of sound. Let's look at the chemistry of relaxation.
Okay, so despite that auditory night shift worker staying on the clock, there are some pretty incredible physiological perks to sleep music. Notice the chemical shift that happens. When you listen to music you actually enjoy before and during sleep, your brain gets flooded with feel-good neurotransmitters, primarily dopamine, and at the exact same time, it is actively lowering your levels of cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone. This high dopamine, low cortisol combination, that's a massive chemical green light telling your body, hey, it's safe to lower our defenses and get some rest.
But the type of music absolutely matters. Research shows us that the magic number is right between 60 and 80 beats per minute. When you put on slow, calm music sitting right in this specific sweet spot, your brain starts to do something truly amazing. It physically slows down its own operations to match it. It actively synchronizes its own brainwaves to that slow, steady, calming rhythm you're feeding it.
It's honestly like a chain reaction. Step 1, your brainwaves sync up to that rhythm. Step 2, this synchronization smoothly guides your brain into the deeper stages of sleep, much more efficiently. And Step 3, and this is the real kicker, it leads to enhanced slow wave activity. Now, why do we care about that? Because this slow wave state is exactly when your brain does its memory consolidation. So listening to that steady, slow music doesn't just put you to sleep. The research indicates it can actually improve your learning and lock in your memories while you are totally unconscious. How cool is that?
But it's not all good news. Let's get into Section 3, the risk of sleep disruption. This is when the music fights back.
We've got to look at the flip side of the data here because remember, your auditory system never actually stopped listening. Enter the earworm, or if we're being highly scientific about it, involuntary musical imagery. Because your brain's auditory system is working overtime, it continues processing the audio input so intensely that it essentially gets stuck in a loop. You wake up and boom, the song is just blaring in your head. It's relentless. This happens because your brain never got the chance to stop processing that melody. It's a biological hyperfocus happening exactly when you're supposed to be resting.
And all that constant stimulation leads directly to a much darker consequence, micro-awakenings. Studies show that constant audio can prevent the brain from fully resting, causing you to briefly wake up over and over and over again throughout the night. You probably won't even remember these mini wake-up calls the next morning, but they result in much lighter, fragmented, and way less restorative sleep. So yeah, your ultimate chill playlist might secretly be robbing you of the deep rest you actually need to function.
Let's transition over to Section 4, music, sleep, and disability. This is where universal biology meets an amplified human experience. I want to take a moment to explore how these exact same biological rules apply to individuals with disabilities, but often with way more emotional weight. For a lot of disabled folks, the experience of listening to music during sleep isn't just a habit, it's a vital tool.
Whether dealing with physical limitations, chronic stress, or even isolation, music transforms into something profound. It becomes this deeply felt source of comfort and emotional support. It's a way to quiet the mind, ease loneliness in the middle of the night, and just cope with the day. Because of this, the emotional bond of the music is incredibly strong, which means the brain responds very powerfully to it during rest.
Because of these amplified effects, some disabled people actively use music as a therapeutic tool, essentially mapping their emotional intentions right onto biological actions. Need to calm anxiety? The music relaxes the nervous system. Trying to improve your mood? It actively influences those emotional centers in the brain. Want to focus? The audio affects your brain waves. And incredibly, to reduce pain perception, the music is utilized to actually alter the physical experience. It perfectly bridges the gap between a much-needed emotional coping strategy and a real, tangible biological function.
But the crucial point to remember here is that the underlying biology remains exactly the same. Having a disability doesn't change the fact that the auditory system is still pulling that night shift. The sleeping brain processes the sound just like we've been talking about, no matter who you are. It's simply that the personal experience and that deep emotional connection really turns up the volume on how powerful those biological effects feel.
All right, bringing it all home with Section 5, the final verdict. Let's balance the scales of sound.
So, we've seen the awesome dopamine highs, and we've seen the exhausting micro-awakening lows. How do we balance it out? Ultimately, the research points us here. Your sleep quality can improve or worsen, and it really boils down to 3 major factors. First, the specific sounds. Remember that 60 to 80 beats per minute sweet spot for synchronization? Second, your own biological sensitivity to having sound playing all night long. And third, your emotional connection to what you're listening to, which can massively amplify the calming effects. It is absolutely a highly personalized biological balancing act.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got one final thought to leave you with before you set your sleep timer tonight. Knowing that your brain's night shift worker never truly clocks out, what is your brain actually going to be listening to tonight? Are you syncing up for deep memory consolidation, or are you accidentally inviting a bunch of micro-awakenings? The biology is literally in your headphones. Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring this fascinating science with me today. Keep asking those great questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.